this Thursday.
Huh?
You have a PowerPoint already for Monday?
I think we learned our lesson this last week was horrible down there.
Okay.
So they're looking to either move.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday, February 17th, 2015 City Council meetings. At this time, I will call the meeting to order.
I still think so.
We'll get us all back up here. Up here we're running a little late. I think we will, Bill? Bill, come on. Anybody else out there? Somebody go get Russ out of the bathroom. Come on, Bruce.
Go for it.
There we go. Okay. Well, we have called the meeting to order. At this time, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Steve must have someplace to go at.
Okay. We made it a little ways here, Shelley. If you'll do a roll call for us.
Here.
Albertson,
Here.
Bueller,
Here.
Danforth,
Here.
Manti, Meisenheimer,
Here.
Riefenberger,
Here.
Roby,
Here.
Solom,
Here.
Tupper,
Here.
Wilkins, Wilkins,
He's coming out of that room.
Bueller.
There you go.
He's there.
Wilkins. Thank you.
Okay. We all wanted to know that. All right. First thing is, we got the approval of the consent agenda. I need a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Bruce, second by Beth. Is there any questions on the agenda here, on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 2, approval of the agenda. Motion by Bruce, second by Don. Any questions on the agenda? Any changes or anything you folks need? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 3, applications for temporary location transfer, return of retail on-sale liquor license owned by Zeus Inc., doing business at Second Street Station as follows. I get rid of that chewing gum John gave me.
No, this.
For the period of 4 p.m., February 20th, 2015, to 2 a.m., February 21st, 2015, from 15 Second Street Southwest to 1910 West Kemp. At this time, I will open the public hearing, so if there's anyone in favor of or against this, you have an opportunity to come and state your mind. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. I will look for a motion and a second for discussion.
So moved.
Motion by Randy, second by Beth, I believe. Is there any questions that you folks have on this?
Didn't we talk a while ago about eliminating having to come and
Right.
do an application to move and then to move back and?
That's exactly right. But what happened was they're able to get that license for the beer and wine. This is a liquor license, so they have to they have to go through this process to move
Okay.
the liquor license.
So there was no way of working around that when we
Right.
talked about it. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
exactly. And this will be for the county pro pheasants, I believe, is what they're gonna do. Any other questions? So I will look for council action. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 3B, for the period after 2:01 a.m., February 21st, 2015, from 1910 West Kemp to 15th Street Southwest, they'll be moving their license back. So at this time, I will open the public hearing if there's anyone here that wants to speak in favor of or against. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. I will look for a motion and a second for discussion.
So moved.
Motion by Randy, second by Al. Any questions on this? Hearing none, I will look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 4, proposed lease of city-owned property to Clyde Strickerts. Stanton, if you want to take this for us?
Thank you, Mayor. As some on the council may recall, back in 2004, the city acquired this 160-acre parcel from Dolores and Donald LeVake. And at the time, one of the purchase terms required the city to lease this ground for 5 years after the sale to the LeVake's children, Michael and Julie. In 2009, After that first lease expired, the city entered into another 5-year lease with Michael and Julie, and during that 5-year term, the LeVakes moved and sublet the ground to Clyde Strickers. The 2009 lease expired in 2014, and Clyde contacted us to ask if he could lease this pasture ground again for another 5-year term. The lease rate for 2009 through 2014 was $30 an acre. The lease before you tonight proposes a 5-year term at $45 an acre. And Clyde's indicated that he would sign this lease if you approve it, and after you hold the public hearing, then item 5 is where you'll actually enter into the resolution of intent to enter into that lease. Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, I will open the public hearing if there's anyone that wants to speak in favor of or against. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. I will look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Beth. Second by Mr. Albertson. Is there any questions? Hearing none, I will look for council action. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, again, there's Stanton resolution of intent to enter into a lease agreement with Clyde Strickerts for a municipally owned property located within Cottington County, South Dakota. I will look for a motion and a second for discussion.
So moved.
Motion by Mike, second by Bruce. Is there any questions on this one, guys? Hearing none, I will look for council action. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 6, second reading of ordinance number 1504, amending zoning district boundaries by rezoning a portion of Willow Creek Village from R3 multifamily residential district to R1 single-family residential district. I will have Sarah do this. Do you want me to do the public hearing now? And
Sure.
okay. So at this time, I will open the public hearing if there's anyone here that wants to speak in favor of or against this project. Mr. Scott, do you want to say a couple words? I did, just so you know, Eric, I had the email and the information that you had forwarded on to Don.
Okay.
Don sent it to me. I had it, copies of everything,
Sure.
and the entire council has that. So
Okay.
if you wanted to, you're sure welcome to give this to Ray, and he can put those up on the screen and kind of
I don't
show
know. I
the
didn't
public
pass it
what you're
out.
doing.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I didn't bring those particular.
I think Ray can do it. Perfect.
Mayor, while we're doing this, who is the actual requestor? Is it Mr. Andrews?
No, it's Mr. Scott. I believe that the properties have been sold to Mr. Scott, and he's gonna be building these homes down there.
So it has been sold to you and that's done?
That's correct. I've got a contract on the land. So, yeah, so I came, hopefully the email explained anything, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. I guess what we're looking at here is, essentially where we were looking at the original master plan, showed, I believe, 4 lots with, 8 total, doors, so eight dwellings. I'd like to rezone into R1 and then replat it for what I call patio homes. But essentially, we'd have 7 doors now where we would've had 8 before, so very similar in density. But
Ray, do you wanna put up what the houses look like? Do you have that also then, Sarah? Let's do that.
Yeah. How much is it gonna cost to put those mountains in there?
he's,
We're
stole
sitting
these-
on, oh,
I'm sorry.
my husband already wants to buy one, so there.
I can stick around.
Good advertising.
Yeah, I think they look gorgeous. It's gonna be a nice addition out there. So, is there anything that you guys might have to ask Eric while he's here? Just hang tight a minute, Eric. At this time, I am going to close the public hearing, and I will look for a motion and a second for discussion purposes. Motion by Mike, second by Russ. Is there any questions now you guys want to ask Eric on this?
Sarah, when was this originally platted?
It just within the last year,
Okay,
not by Eric.
no.
I would like to add that this is a portion of a lot which is being rezoned, and generally, we don't do that. We don't want the zoning to be on a part of a lot, but he does plan to replat, which will take care of that.
Okay. And has there been any opposition from, I guess the only other landowner is,
We haven't heard any.
okay.
Eric, am I in the understanding that sidewalk and such, there'll be sidewalk on your side?
I believe the sidewalk on that side of the road was slated to be around the pond, and I think that was, the agreement when they did that. The one side of the road, I believe, where there isn't a pond, is going to have sidewalk. The other side of the road, the sidewalk essentially was moved to the back around that, pond area. Sarah, is that correct, or do you have that information?
That's correct. There was sidewalk on one side of the street, and in this case, it was not this side of the street. And so when you replat, you can revisit those requirements if you want.
I don't, it doesn't seem like it'd make much sense, though, to put sidewalk there unless it was gonna continue. It would be just that portion that would then have sidewalk, and it wouldn't continue on.
Well, what
Can't
what
make-
we've done a lot, many, many times over is we've done a waiver to protest on something like that, where they could, down the road, if we felt it was necessary, we'd have the ability to ask to have that done.
You understand what that would be then, Derek?
Yeah.
That's if it was called that you needed to put it in, but the problem is you'd need to pass that agreement on then to the property owner so they know that potentially that they could be asked to put that.
Sure. And I don't know of all the details that were, agreed to when that was originally done, but, in talking to the owners, Don Endries and his group, it just, with the pond that they plan on doing back there and the landscaping, and having a walking path around the back is actually a safer way for pedestrians to get around and more aesthetically pleasing as well, for everybody. So I think that's why, that was my understanding of why the agreement was made, that there would be no sidewalk on that side of the road.
But that sidewalk and that pond, though, that's all outside of what you're purchasing then, so that's
That's
not.
correct.
The sidewalk, there is going to be a sidewalk coming to the pond and around the pond, which would serve as a recreational sidewalk, but for someone coming out of their house and walking over and across, that's why we put them on both sides. It isn't just for going the entire length of a block. I wouldn't say that if you're not going to put it the entire length, that it's useless to just put it half of the way.
Well, I
Because,
think we're straying off a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at rezone.
yeah,
We're getting into all the
That's true.
plating stuff, which
I
the
probably
planning
should ask.
commission will have the opportunity
That's
to
true.
scrutinize, so.
Just throw me under the bus. That's okay. But anyhow, I think it's a great idea. And is there any other questions that we have for Eric on the zoning? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Eric. Good luck on that. Number 7, authorize the mayor to sign the state financial assistance amendment with Department of Transportation for the AIP Project 26. And Shelley, if you've got something on that for us.
Sure. Basically, this AIP Project 26 has been completed, but the total project costs were more than what was approved by FAA. The city paid for that difference. This was the FBO runway taxiway construction project, and there was some additional testing that was necessary, and then it was also to purchase a front-end loader, and that came in higher than what they had estimated when they gave us the grant. The state went to the FAA and requested some additional funding to help with the city's additional costs. The FAA did approve that, but it comes with a state portion. And so the state just needs us to approve and allow the mayor to sign this documentation so that they can release the state portion of the project.
Okay, what I'm gonna look for is a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Mr. Riefenberger, second by Beth. Is there any questions on that? So we're getting an extra $2,600 from the state. Okay. Any, go ahead.
How much is additionally costing the city?
Oh, nothing. This is dollars that the state actually increased their share to us. So we don't have any additional out-of-pocket dollars. So they're gonna cut us a check for 260966, and I'll sign that if you guys give the approval. Okay. I will look for council action. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 8, consideration of change order number 1 to the contract with Automatic Systems Company for the SCADA network and PLC replacement project, increasing the contract amount by $5,695. Hi, Mike, I'm gonna look for a motion and a second for discussion purposes, and then they can ask you. So
Second.
I have a motion by Mike, second by Randy. And you guys got any questions for Mike? And Mike, go ahead and fill us in on it if you would.
Okay, what the change order does is it directs the contractor to add an Ethernet router to the existing effluent pump control panel to connect it to the new human-machine interface and programmable logic controller, and then back at the administration building, doing the same thing. This is work that's necessary for the completion of the project. It was something overlooked during design, so AECom has reviewed the cost, and they believe it's appropriate cost, so we would ask for your approval of this change order.
Did you understand the word he said?
Two of them.
They're picking on you, Mike.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
That's okay.
All right.
Just a little bit.
Is there any other questions you have for Mike? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Mike. Number 9, you're up again. Consideration of bids received for the wastewater alkalinity addition project. So if you want to help us out on that.
Okay, bids were open on January 30th for this project. 3 bids were received, and HDR, the engineering firm working on this project, has reviewed the bids, and they're recommending awarding this contract to Gray Construction of Watertown in the amount of $430,000. Mike Johnson with HDR is here to answer any questions you have about the project, as the scope has changed a little bit, which drove costs up a little bit. But we would ask that you award this bid to Gray Construction, the amount of $430,000.
Okay, so at this time, I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion purposes. Motion by Dan, second by John. Okay, any questions you have for Mike on this?
Mike, what was your budget number?
We budgeted $447,000 for this project, and the original engineer's opinion of probable cost was $407,000. So these bids are all 3 in a similar price range, but they are all slightly above the engineer's opinion of probable cost due to a change in scope. Originally, the project was to be designed as an addition to an existing building, but had to be changed to a freestanding building, which increased the costs.
Okay. Any other questions for Mike while we got him here? Maybe were the fish are biting or anything like that? I mean, all right.
Should that.
Okay. So I will look for
keeps it
council
pretty
action on
quiet.
this. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 9, number 10, we go on to consideration of bids received for the wastewater
Intermediate.
intermediate screw pump rehabilitation project. So you go ahead, Mike.
Okay.
And you need to throw bigger words in there for me, you know.
Okay. Bids were opened again on January 30th for this project. 2 bids were received. The low bid, which does meet the specifications, is from TMI Coatings Incorporated of St. Paul, Minnesota. I did check 5 of their references, including Watertown and Brookings municipal water treatment departments. And TMI has done the same near white sandblasting process and used the same coating product on other projects. So all their references were good, and so I'd recommend awarding this project to TMI in the amount of $83,600. And the final completion date of this project then will be August 28th of 2015. And then these costs are to be paid out of our wastewater enterprise cash reserves, subject to your approving or awarding the bid.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion purpose. Motion by, who was it, Bill? Second by Mike. Any questions you have for Mike?
Big difference in bids. I'm looking at about 60%. What's the rationale?
You know, the high bid, the 137, they bid that same amount last year, and we rejected it because they didn't meet the spec, and they came back with that same number. I guess we didn't have design engineering on this, just a spec development, you know, technical specification, but I believe that 83,600 is a good price. Why the ones at 137? Thought they were gonna, well, they were the only bidder the first time as well, so.
Was this a budgeted item, Mike?
No, this is out of cash reserves. What we did is we originally, we started out, we placed $31,500 in 2013 budget to pay for some of the spec development and so forth. And to date, we have spent about $17,000. We've purchased the stainless steel deflector plates that run up the pumps and bid the project. So there we have $14,500 that will be used to pay the engineers for the technical specification and then any other additional services that we need. But the construction costs we are paying for out of the sewer enterprise cash reserves. We didn't have an engineer's cost on this, and we're not familiar with another project at the time, but this is recommended by the manufacturer of the pumps to prolong their life. The existing coating is 18 years old and it's coming off in big pieces, so we need to sandblast them and refurbish them.
Okay, any other questions that you have for Mike? Hearing none, I will look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Mike. Number 11, consideration of quote and state bids for the purchase of 2 police vehicles. Lee, you're up again.
Yes, thank you. Looking for some bids on our patrol vehicles this year. We had advertised for 1 SUV and 1 sedan. We did a bid opening on February 13th and found out we'd received no bids. So we contacted Watertown Ford because we were under the impression they were going to be bidding the vehicles. Apparently they had some miscommunication at the building there, and they did fill out a packet, did the work, but they just didn't submit it. So I checked with Kristen from Finance, who checked with Shelley. We found out that by codified law, we could still negotiate for the most advantageous price. If you look at state law for competitive sealed bids, it says that if after advertising for bids, no firm bids are received, the purchasing agency may negotiate a contract for the purchase of supplies, services, or public improvement projects at the most advantageous price if the specifications of the original bids are met. So I called Stan Fox, our city attorney, and asked him about his interpretation. He agreed as well that as long as it's the most advantageous price for the city and the bid specs are still met, that we can go ahead and proceed with Watertown Ford's price if that is the most advantageous and they meet the specs. Is that correct, Stanton? Okay. So what we did is we called back up to Watertown Ford. We said, go ahead and submit your prices and we'll compare them to the state bid and bring before council and see how things roll out. So what we did on the SUV is we looked at the state bid for an SUV. It's the Ford Police Utility Explorer. The state bid for that vehicle is $28,827. Watertown Ford came in with a bid of $27,915, so they're lower by $912. There is a slight difference between both of those vehicles. They both meet the specs that we had. The Watertown Ford one is a V6, but it does not have the EcoBoost, so I'm not exactly sure how much an EcoBoost adds to the price. I don't know if Randy knows or not, but I'm gonna guess it's probably around $1,000 option to add. I don't know. So the only difference between the state bid and the Watertown Ford bid is the V6 EcoBoost is included in the state bid, and I would imagine that's because they're out on the open highways and they probably need that a little more than just city driving does. So I guess looking at the bids, looking at what we'd budgeted for, we would be make a recommendation, go ahead and go with the Watertown Ford bid for the SUV at $27,915.
What's the reference to the items, the Chargers below? Are those other options for you?
I could cover the Chargers next. I was just gonna
Are
try to do
those
the
separate
SUVs
issues?
first. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're different bids.
Okay. Are we moving more towards SUVs than we are patrol cars?
We do like them more. There's a little more room in them. The backs are a lot more room for some of our equipment that we have to carry around. So right now, we're at about 50-50. We have a Charger that we're gonna be replacing out, one of the first Chargers we bought, so we decided to stay with the Charger for another year because the equipment just transfers. It's less expensive for us to do that. So this year, we would decide to go with 1 SUV and 1 car. We actually had asked for 2 of each, and after CIP went through, it was reduced down to 1 of each. So that's where we're at right now, Mike.
The operating costs about the same?
About the same. They get about the same gas mileage. Yep.
Okay, so are you looking for a motion at this particular time, Lee?
A motion to accept the Watertown Ford bid for $27,915.
Okay, so I'll look for a motion, a second on that.
So moved.
Motion by John, second by Mike. Any questions that you have for Lee?
Lee, I have a question.
Yeah.
How do we advertise for bids? How's it go out? Where's it going?
Shelley, can you help me with that one?
It goes out in the PO, and then the department head has
We
the
can take them
opportunity
around, yes.
to send them out as well and solicit
Who did we
bids.
send it to? Who else did we send bids to?
We just sent it to the PO. You can, Lee, you can,
Okay. I believe Scott ran them out to Sharp Chevrolet and Watertown Ford. Chevrolet hasn't bid on these the last couple of years because the way I understand it, they're not allowed to, by the way Chevy has it worked out. Billion has the contract for the state of South Dakota for police vehicles, so they're not allowed, or they don't get access to that pricing, the way I understand it. Watertown Ford apparently is a little different for Fords and Dodges, they're able to do that.
Anybody can sign up on the city's website for any bid. You know,
Yeah.
and I have over the years for a lot
Yeah,
of
to
different
get a
entities, so.
Notification.
I will recuse myself from this vote also, Mayor, for conflict of interest.
Okay, Randy recuses himself. At this time, I will look, or if is there any other questions you guys have for Lee?
Well, it seems odd that, why wouldn't we, if Billion's got the contract, the state contract, why wouldn't we be getting bids from Billion? If they're gonna have that responsibility and have that sole responsibility, then it seems like they should have responsibility to put bids in.
I think as a state bidding entity, it's up to the city if they choose to go with that. I do have the prices from the state bid for the Chevy Tahoe and Dodge Durango. The Durango's $30,599 and the Chevy Tahoe's $30,960.
Kind of helped us out a little bit. Okay, any other questions for Lee on this? Hearing none, I will look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Go ahead, Lee.
Okay, the next item up to bid is a sedan. It's a four-door police vehicle. State bid for the Dodge Charger. This Dodge Charger happens to have a V8 engine, and it's all-wheel drive because that's what the state specs were. Their price came out to be, after adding a couple options in that we also had in our price, will be about $25,976. The state bid for Chevy Caprice is $26,745. Watertown Ford did come back with two pricing options on the Dodge Charger for us. One of them was with a V8 all drive, and that would match the state's bid, and their price was $26,224, so approximately $248 more than the state bid for that vehicle. The option number two they came back with is the vehicles we currently have. It's a V6 rear-wheel drive Charger, and those are the current vehicles we do have, and that bid came in at $23,836. So that's about a little over 2,000 less than the state bid for the all-wheel drive V8 engine. That V6 has been a vehicle that we've got, I think we've got 4 or 5 of those now. We have had some issues with the engine, but they've all been covered under warranty. I think we've replaced lifters and rocker arms, and if not all of them, almost all of them. But Charger Dodge has a 100,000 mile warranty, so they've been replacing those. Hasn't been any cost to us. We replaced a couple power steering pumps for around $1,000 a crack. But other than that, we haven't had any other issues as far as costing us money to fix them. So we're satisfied with the V6 rear-wheel drive Charger. So we would recommend, I guess, that we go with the option number 2, the rear-wheel drive V6 Charger for $23,836.
Okay, thanks, Lee. At this time, I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Beth, second by Al. Any questions for Lee on this?
Lee, do you not feel in the winter months that you have, for your officers, a better handle on the vehicle with all-wheel drive versus rear?
Didn't really take that in consideration when we put our specs together. We didn't spec out on a wheel drive. We would like to take a look at one of those. We didn't really budget for it this year. We budgeted for a V6 rear-wheel drive. Next year, we may take a look at that to make sure that we have a budget amount for that. Wouldn't be a bad idea to give one a try. The state has gone with the V8s because of some of the issues with the V6s. So, you know, it'd be something we'd definitely be looking at, trying to try out and see how that works for us.
Are any of the problems that the state's had with the V6s the same ones you've had?
That I couldn't answer, Mike. I haven't talked really with anybody from the state. I'm assuming that that's probably why they went with the V8. but I don't know that for a fact, because I haven't talked to anybody from the state side.
So you can't find the $2,400?
I probably could.
Lee, how much, I mean, I heard what you said, you know, it's nice to be able to transfer the equipment from a charger to a charger.
Yep.
How much more would it really cost if you had to set one of these up or modify brackets, whatever the heck you guys use to put that stuff in a four-wheel drive? How much more would that cost
To go
you?
from a Charger to a SUV?
Yeah,
There gets to be some costs. The rear seats are plastic molded to fit in the vehicles. We'd have to get a different one of those. I think they're about $3,000. The light bars take different brackets, so they're probably a couple $100 for those. The actual screen or the partition between the vehicles, that can range anywhere from $1,000 to a couple thousand. Depends on if it fits, and then you just have to get side extensions. But if it doesn't fit, then you have to get the whole new cage unit. So we did budget $60,800 in this line this year, and the two vehicles together that I had talked about were $51,000. The excess is to outfit some of those. I think we had slated for one light bar to replace, and they're about $3,000, and a rear seat. So we're going to be cutting her close at the $23,000. If we went with the all-wheel drive V8 at $26,000, we could make it work.
well, I just think, here's what I'm thinking. $1,600 is the difference, basically $1,600. You could go to another Explorer.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I
And we
mean?
talked about doing that internally, and we decided to stay with this. We could certainly do two of the SUVs. That's kind of the trend that we're looking at.
And if you're having those kind of mechanical problems, it seems odd to buy one of the same thing. You know,
Yeah, I agree with you, Bruce.
I think we ought to consider.
We probably wouldn't even
it-
consider if they didn't have that warranty.
Yeah.
If we were paying for that, we would be in here saying we don't want to get.
I know I wouldn't want to be driving a
Yeah.
patrol car with rear-wheel drive in the wintertime.
That's all they drove for years.
Yeah. But I wouldn't, but now Randy,
Okay.
we've
The
gone
two
beyond
Charger-
horses. They rode horses for
The
years.
two Charger options is the V6 rear wheel and the V8 four-wheel, they don't, or all-wheel. They don't have a V6 all-wheel?
I would imagine they do, but they didn't submit a price on that for us.
No, there is not a V6 all.
There's not, okay.
Okay, so it's kind of, you're up into the other engine and then getting the all-wheel, so it's kind of a, two things going as part of the
I
upgrade.
think what I'm
I
gonna do
understand what
here
Bruce
is,
is trying to say too.
yeah, I'm gonna ask for a motion and a second for discussion purposes.
I think we had that.
Do we have it already
Yep.
on this one?
Yeah, for
Oh,
the,
I'm sorry.
for
I
the
thought we had the first one.
23,836, so that's what you guys are gonna vote
Do you guys wanna stay
on.
with the 23,
but-
or do you wanna move it to a different vehicle?
Okay, here's where I'm at. If you, based on your budgeted amount and the other things that you have to put into these vehicles, if you get that Explorer and suit that one out, and if you were to get the all-wheel drive Charger V8, would you still be within budget?
Yes.
So my feeling is, if you want to try one at some point anytime, anyway, as long as we budgeted dollars for it and we can still stay within that, why wouldn't we do that? Would you see us going completely away from cars versus at some point?
I can see us moving that direction, definitely. Just for the room as much as anything, but also having the all-wheel drive with those utility vehicles in the winter months has been real good for us. They also handle nice in town too.
Then that tells me that the right answer is, at a minimum, is to go to the all-wheel drive.
The all-wheel drive Charger?
Charger.
Yeah.
And then because your equipment will transfer over, correct? So you don't have the additional dollars to put into that, because it would be several $1,000s, if I remember right.
Correct.
Can we make an amended motion as far as?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'd like to amend the motion to, help me out here, Shelley, but to basically recommend that we approve the 2015 all-wheel drive Charger for the amount of $26,224 with the V8.
Okay, I have an amended motion by Beth. I couldn't remember the first time. Al seconded it? Okay, Al. So we got Al seconding that. Is there any other questions that we have for Lee?
Well, I'm just gonna ask before we vote on this. Would your preference be to go with another Explorer? We're still within budget.
Yes.
If we do that, it's $1,600 more than this Charger. I realize that some of your stuff's not gonna fit.
That was our only reservation, Bruce, from even going before you and asking for two of those, is I don't think we have enough in our budget to outfit them both this year.
Okay, fair enough, thank you.
Yep.
Now, if there was somebody here from Ford that could answer Why did the 2015 Charger with the rear wheel, the V6, come in well under the state budget or state contract price, but this one's above it? I wonder why that would be.
They don't do them anymore, so it's conflict of interest, buddy.
Yeah, the biggest reason, Mike, is a V6 versus a V8. The state bid is a V8 engine. The V6 rural drive is a V6.
Yeah, but you said the state one was $200 cheaper than this. The V8 state was couple $100 less than this quote,
Couple
right?
$100 more than the state bid.
But the V6 is well below
Yep, the V6 is less than the state's bid, but the state's bid is a V8. That's the biggest difference I think you're gonna find in the price there.
Okay. I think we got it, don't we, guys? Yeah, Stan.
I think that even though there is a difference between the state bid and the Watertown Ford bid on the V8, what is it, less than $300? I do think the council can keep in mind the fact that that would probably require somebody driving out to Pier to get it and then driving it home.
That wasn't my question.
Absolutely.
Didn't you say, Lee, that when we started this, when we talked about the V6, that this number here was X dollars below the state contract?
The V6 Charger is $2,000 less than the state bid of the
bid.
V8 engine.
The state bid did not spec.
Oh,
State-
the
state bid does
V8.
not spec the
Okay, the
V8.
V8.
Not
okay.
apples to apples, right?
Or did not spec the V6.
Oh, my
We're not
God.
having to pass, so.
We're talking
Okay,
fruit now.
there we go.
There we go.
All right, any other questions? Are we done?
I'm gonna
right.
recuse myself
All
again.
those, all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. I'm gonna come up with some bigger words like Burger does. It works for him.
It did. I hear you.
Yeah, if yours is enough fancy, we'll approve it. Car, SUV, add PLC.
Thanks, Lee. That was a good one. I like that. Okay, under old business, I do want to bring up, we've talked about the trestle on the Sioux River over by McKinley Park, just south of the Elks. And I seen that Sarah's got that up. She's got some great pictures that she can slide more to the side, I believe. And we want to talk about this. The trestle was built for a train, as you all know. And the train does not go there any longer, and it's really a footbridge. So what we're looking at is hiring Clark Engineering for $4,800 to look at removing some of that timber under there that really isn't needed. Now, she's a structural engineer, and what she would be able to come back and tell us is, if we took out X amount of timber out of this thing, how would it help, as Sarah can answer this, how would it help our water flowing through Watertown and not being held up there? So, Sarah, if you want to just visit about it, you certainly can. I'd appreciate it.
Right, the supports trap debris and they hinder the flow. And so if we remove some of them, we feel we could remove some of them without compromising the function of the bridge because it's overbuilt to carry a train. And that's the whole concept here, is can we improve the flow characteristics by removing some of the obstructions to the flow while not having any hindrance to the capacity of the bridge. And that's what she'll look at. She isn't going to remodel the floodplain or anything like that, but it makes sense without even having to analyze it. If you take some of the obstructions out, the flow will be better.
Plus, we get a significant buildup of debris.
We do, yep.
During flood situations.
Mhm. Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for a motion and a second to approve $4,800 for Clark Engineering to do that work for us. And motion by Bill, second by Al. Is there any questions that you have for
The only
Sarah at this
question,
time?
are we only then looking at what we could take out, or are they gonna look at maybe replacing, putting a different beam or something so they can eliminate more in there, like a steel beam or something underneath? That could be options
Yeah,
that they
she
look
trying
at.
to maximize the flow and for the minimal amount of cost, so.
Yeah, so it wouldn't just be, they're gonna look at, well, we can take this out or that and it'll stand
Yeah.
up. They're gonna look at what they might do to
I think
remodel
she
from
would,
underneath.
she would make that recommendation.
Okay.
Flood flow.
Marion, you've talked as to where you're gonna take these funds for?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have $150,000 that we had set aside a couple of years ago for the, in the sump pump drainage for 2000, we had it in 2014. And those dollars were used, if you remember, we put the tile in up in Northridge. But we don't have anything planned for that particular tiling project this year until we understand how that's gonna work for us. So we thought we could take the dollars out of that particular fund since it's in the water area. Any questions? I think it's a great idea, and I hope she can come back with some good things for us, and you know, this could be just a start of something good. Okay. Council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any new business we need to discuss?
Mayor, can we go back to old business?
Sure.
Did you want to communicate the finalization of the community center plans?
Oh, we certainly can. I think I saw Tim here. Tim, did you want to put anything up on the board for us? Sure can. Okay. We won't go into, okay.
Okay.
We've had, as you all know, we've had just a ton of meetings. I'll start it up, Mike, and then you can take it from there. We've had just a ton of meetings, and today we had another fabulous meeting, and things are coming together on our multipurpose center, the Watertown Multipurpose Center. And Community Center, I'm sorry.
You'll get it when it's.
Okay. But anyhow, it's coming along very, very well, and there's a number of things that are in there, and as soon as Tim kind of gets a picture on it, I'll let Mike just go ahead and talk about it. We have some scheduling that we're going to be looking at for when things are gonna happen, when we're hoping for dirt work, when we're hoping for different things. Just to give you an update on a road while he's looking, Sarah has been working with the Clomar for 15th Street. Clomar's not needed, but Lomar is. And we should get done with that on 15th Street, hopefully with our floodplain information coming. So you will be noticing here in the next few weeks that our surveyors are up there on 15th Street, and they surveyed where the road will go through in between the trees. Our forestry department will be up there removing some trees in the very near future. And then you will see some stumps up there that are being left, and at that particular time, we will hire another contractor that can come in with bigger equipment and pull the stumps out. So go ahead, Mike.
Well, we've gotten to the point where really the floor plan on the building is completed, and any changes that we continue to make will not affect the outside structure or the perimeter or of the building. So at that point, it is what it is, other than some potential very, very minor changes internally. The bid packages are going to be starting to get prepared. The first bid packages will be for civil engineering, then the following will be the excavation work, and then after that, then it'll be the footings, foundations, and it'll just progress from there. But the bid packages will be established and let out when they're ready, and then also when, those will probably start going out, I believe. We
Yeah,
talked
we're
about that
talking-
today. I don't remember exactly what the date is, Tim, if you do, but they'll start going out probably into first part of March, I believe. Is that correct?
It was interesting today, because Mike Davis was up there today, and we were talking about, you know, the precast, and Mike was helping us out and deciding and looking about what type of construction needs to be done on those. And I think they need to go out rather soon, because it's a 6 to 9 month waiting time just for the precast, is what I understand.
Yeah, so decisions have been, are very close to being finalized, exactly what our needs are there. So we'll be working on final designs with that.
It's, Right, February 24th, we're looking at next week.
For certain, the first ones to go out.
Yep,
And-
and then early April would be the final design, and then most of those other bid packages at that point.
So we're hoping that sometime in the latter part of March, first part of April is when we'd actually move the first shovel load of dirt for excavation. And then right behind that then would be footings, foundations, and everything else. So there'll be a progression, period that bids go out, bids come back and get let. What Tim's doing right here is he's showing some of the pictorials that represent the facility.
This is just some of the, I can go back kind of from the beginning here, but, just some of the features of this, kind of a cutaway of the first floor plan, a three-dimensional floor plan. And then you can see some of the features, and Mike, maybe, I don't know if you wanna touch on, or you want me to?
Well, you've got the little mover there, why don't you,
Like, here's a four-court gym, which would be essentially managed by the Park and Rec Department. A single-court gym that's gonna be, essentially a dedicated gym for the rec center portion of the facility. 3 racquetball courts, storage, bathrooms, things like that, concession stand over here. There's a north entrance, which would be used for any events, special events that we have, basketball, soccer, volleyball, those kind of things, wrestling, and swim meets. We have a 8-lane, 25-yard pool with 300 seats in it. This wall actually is not there. This is an older picture. 3 lanes plus in the recreation pool. A little community center that can be used for whatever in conjunction with the pool or whatever. We have a set of family locker rooms here. And then this is the men's locker room and with a boys kind of feature in it. Women and girls over here with shared kind of facilities. You have your fitness machines over here, your cardio machines, things like that. A very nice 2-story entrance here, and the first was with kind of a social kind of area, a lobby, which that picture that I can show you kind of a rendition of what that's going to look like. And then go to the next one. There's just kind of the specifics of what we have. A nice sized child watch area in the back too. It's another nice feature that we don't really have now. This is the pool, which I kind of went through here. 130-foot water slide, a 12-person hot tub, 3 different pool pieces. This you can see, this area right here is actually the walking track, which is twice the size of what we presently have. We have, right now, it's 16 laps to make a mile. This one will be 8. It'll actually stretch through here. This would be the rec center's gym. It'll go around through the lobby over this way, looking through these windows into the forecourt gym. And then here's the second floor kind of cutaway. You can see how that track comes. It comes through this 2-story area in the front lobby. Goes by here. You'll be able to look in on the pool as you're going around there. And then there's a dedicated yoga room, 2 group fitness rooms, open weights area in here for free weights, and then what he calls the Cybex machines. They're weightlifting machines that are units. A few more spots over here and right here for those cardio type machines. And then kind of there's the specifics of that. But here's kind of to show you as you're inside that lobby area, just kind of the flow, the general open feel of this building. The total square footage, I think, was 104, just
304.
right, 104,000 square feet between the 2 levels. Essentially 80-ish on the main floor footprint with that 25,000 upstairs. And then Mike kind of went through these things already with you guys, so. Any other questions?
Well, the only other thing that I would,
Seating around the basketball courts, I didn't see anything.
the seating will be a total of right around 2,000 in
Yep.
that area.
And I can kind of, if I go back to that, you can see, there we go. What we're kind of showing right now is this seating would stretch out to here, there, and here. And this shows as a 4-mat wrestling configuration. So you could pull these out and have pretty close to 2,000 was the number.
Plus some
Mobile seating
portable seating
on
and
the
such, yep.
side, possible.
The only other thing I would add is that we're hoping that by the end of next week that we would have all of the drawings updated so that we could get the pertinent drawings for the community onto our city webpage. So we're hoping that that will occur by the end of next week. And so that if anybody looking to, they'll be able to go onto the city webpage and see the visual pictures, look at the floor plans, look at the site plan, and just see what it looks like, where it's at, so.
And I can go back here to, there's the kind of the preliminary, so people can kind of see in conjunction with here's the new middle school right here, and where we are in correlation to that. It's approximately, can't read that on there, but it's what, about 150 feet from the building is about what that number is. So you can see 15th will come up here and then 18th up above, so that's how you'll get in and out.
Tim, what's all the stuff on the top and to the right where it says north driveway and preliminary? Is that gonna be grass, room for expansion?
Yeah, this would be actually 18th. At some point, this 18th will come all the way across, and 15th will come up and meet at some point down the road once that development happens. But the city actually owns all of that property. That's essentially that's the square point of what we purchased from.
What we'll be looking at, Don, is we're really not gonna take 18th Avenue over at this time. So you'll see that shut off at the north driveway. 18th will stop there. 15th also will stop over on the right, just above the property line, so they can come in and out of that.
You may just want to touch a little bit too on the expansion capabilities that we're building into the facility,
Sure.
or that we're planning for.
You can see here, there's kind of a dotted line of potential expansion for the pool. It might be more down this way, and then there's also a potential to add, it's the equivalent of 2 court space right there, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike? Right here on the north side of that gym, we've left open space there for that possibility.
Yeah, and the thought process on the pool, when you really think about it, you know, instead of putting big dollars down on Highway 212, we could put them up here where it can be used year-round for the public, and I think that would just make a lot of sense. You guys got any questions for Tim while he's got that up? Anybody from the audience want to ask anything quick? You're welcome. This has been a real experience in working with this group. We have the Pitts Construction and Tegra and the
JLG.
what's that?
JLG.
And JLG. It's just been a real learning experience for us. I didn't think I'd be looking like with Mike Davis today up there looking at precast and saying, well, what kind of concrete would you use? And Mike understands that and he knows it. So it has been very learning, and it's been a fun process.
It is. And the only thing I would add is that I'd like to thank the school administration and the school board members there's been a lot of interaction between our two parties, their building, our building. There's some common things that we are sharing and working with. We've just recently developed a common ingress, egress for that north entrance versus having separate ones there. We came up with a common stormwater sewer system between the two facilities that helps drain the area. And that takes both parties' willingness to do that. And so I do want to thank them too. And so we're getting close to the end of the planning, and we'll be going out for bids, and that'll be a good day when we get a shovel in the ground, so.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Anybody else want to add anything?
Just one other thing too, I'd just like to add that we're really trying the best we can to try to keep what we can local on the construction side from what control we have.
You're absolutely right, and just like one instance I didn't realize, but we have a company right here in Watertown that builds lockers. I didn't know that. One day we were sitting there talking about lockers, and Mike said, hey, I think I know a company over there that does that. And they came back in today with just some really good numbers for our locker space. And, I mean, this is incredible, some of the things these folks are doing for us. So it's turning out really, really well. Enough rambling. Okay, any liaison member reports?
I do, as usual. If you guys remember, approximately 6 months ago, I came before the council on behalf of Watertown Area Transit, looking for funding to help us buy another bus. At that time, I believe the funding, if I remember right, was $12,600 and some odd dollars. I'd just like to report that the transit was able to secure 6,000 of that. So we'll only be asking for the remainder of that from the city, so.
Cool. Good.
Thanks, Randy. There is a need to go into executive session for contract negotiations. At this time, I'll look for a motion and a second to go into that. Motion by Bruce.
Second.
Second by Mike. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are in executive session.